folks, and welcome back to another episode of your Brains Coach podcast. My name is Angela Sharina. I'm your host. I'm your Brains Coach. I'm just someone with a lot of passion, obsession, curiosity for learning and sharing all the brain and body tools that come from science, that are emerging, and I can't wait to share them with you so you could feel, look, and do your best knowing how to operate this brain body machine that we all have, that unites us all and that is meant to help us thrive. Today, folks, it's Monday. It's a new beginning, new week, new day. And usually on Mondays, we all feel more motivated and a little bit more uplifted and optimistic. And Monday, I believe, is the best day to tune in to this episode with Claude Silver, Chief Heart Officer at Vayner Media. It's the best day today, folks, to give you even more emotional optimism and heart-centric mood and productivity to really deliver your best self into the world and have all the tools and different frameworks to, again, help you do that, help you live more from the heart. And as you learn from Claude Silver, that just might lead you to unlocking all of your talents and passions and potential. So Claude Silver, who is Claude Silver? Well, I already mentioned she is a Chief Heart Officer at Vayner Media. And Claude Silver's purpose is to be of joyful service and unlock emotional optimism in all. Emotional optimism is the most effective tool in revealing the greatness that resides within people. Like, what is emotional optimism, where this concept comes from, and how it helps Claude to filter your life and work. You'll learn a lot about that on this podcast. Claude Silver, your passion is for creating spaces in which people can thrive. She's passionate about facilitating growth and change in people, teams, and companies. Claude is dedicated to helping people find meaning in what they do, helping them to remove all the roadblocks that might be in the way of learning, unlocking this meaning, and with that, all the talents and potential that resides within all of us. Before you tune into this podcast, I'd like to share with you the quote that I love the most from our conversation with Claude. Your candle can light 1,000 candles. Never forget that we are all leaders. It's an amazing quote that makes me think how I show up every day for the world, for myself, for other people. On this podcast, we're going to talk a lot about leadership and lighting as many candles as possible. But not only that, Claude will share her personal journey as a late bloomer. She's going to share with you how she came to the understanding and that being a late bloomer is okay, and changing your careers in your 40s and jumping to a whole new path, personally and professionally, that's okay. And you're not missing it, or there is nothing wrong with you just because you don't follow the traditional quote unquote road to success. Claude will share with you how she defeated negative self-doubting, self-talk, imposter syndrome with one simple writing exercise. As I mentioned, we're going to talk a lot about emotional optimism. We're going to talk about Claude's strategy to help people do their best and unlock themselves, yourself including. How every leader can become a bit of a chief heart officer, and how to scale it throughout the organization or perhaps your family. We are all leading in some capacity throughout our days and lives. The only question that matters to influence people, to lead people to better places. What is the first thing you have to figure out to lead your people from the heart? We're going to talk about culture of trust and how with one simple texting strategy, you can start installing this culture of trust in your organization. Culture and performance, Claude's view on balancing these priorities on a company level to drive success. ROI of heart-centric, people-centric culture. We're going to talk about that. Importance of softness and vulnerability for effective leadership, and how to know if you show up as this soft and vulnerable, open to people and interactions, different kind of interactions as a leader at work. How to scale leadership across departments, locations, on-site, and remotely. Claude's take on remote work setup and leadership, distributed teams, location-independent work. Is Zoom an effective tool to build culture? Claude's favorite Zoom rituals to make culture work remotely across borders and time zones. And a few tips on how to build deep human and non-work related connections over Zoom. Questions, small talk, and creating opportunities to connect. One question to ask yourself every day to become a better leader and build people heart-centric culture. So many things, personal and professional, that we're going to talk about on this short podcast. So please tune in, folks, listen to this podcast, and then give it a little bit of time to think about what you heard and how you can implement advice and tips into your life and work. And then also share this podcast episode so we all could create and lead better and from the heart. Share. Don't forget to interact with Claude on LinkedIn and maybe send her an email and interact, share, and don't forget, always remember to live from the heart. Claude Silver, I'm so excited to have you on Your Brains Coach podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. So appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited for our conversation.
Yes, me too. I've been researching your work and your biography a lot, and I was so excited to interview you for many reasons. Not just, because you're a chief heart officer at the Vayner Media, and you know a lot about how to build culture, and that is such a hot topic in today's world of work, but also because I was really excited to learn from you more about your personal story, and I'll tell you why. I learned from your other interviewers that you consider yourself a late bloomer, and you switched quite a lot of things in your life, right, before coming to what seems to be your calling. And I'd like you to maybe tell our listeners a little bit more about that, like where you started and how you ended up where you are. Because I also believe that a lot of people, actually, I believe most of the people are more late bloomers. But because of the society, it's like you have to figure your things out by the age of X. People are afraid to switch things. And of course, we accumulate baggage, and the more of that baggage we have, the more difficult it is to switch.
Very true. Very, very true. Well, thank you so much. I'm happy to go into that. I have always been interested in people and how and what makes us tick. Like why we do the things we do, where our triggers come from, why people are nasty, why people are optimistic, those types of things. And I've always had that interest from a very young age. I think I had, a lot of intuition as a very young girl. And I didn't know it was intuition. I just knew I was picking up on feelings and vibes. And, there came a time in my life where I picked up on so many vibes, I would get overwhelmed. I would get oversaturated. I didn't know how to kind of protect myself and boundary myself. And I was a very poor student. very, very poor student. And that really hurt my self-esteem in many ways and my confidence. So here I was, a feeler, able to feel so much. My grades were terrible. I didn't create any options for myself, which is added to the late bloomership, I guess. My parents, who loved me and only wanted the best for me, would say, "You think too much with your heart, Claude. When are you going to think with your head?" And I just thought, I don't even know what that means. I have like a missing chip, they need to put a microchip in. So I spent a lot of time coaching people, playing tennis, always facilitating growth and change with people, whether or not I was teaching tennis, whether or not I ran a surfing company, an outdoor adventure company, whatever it was, being with people and helping them unlock something makes me so happy. And I've had many unlocks in my own life. It wasn't until two things. Until I really understood that the only person I could change was me. And I learned that in my 30s. Yeah. So until I learned that was rough. And I also learned that only I can fix the noise in this head. Only I know how to change the narrative, change what I'm saying into something that is more truthful, more honest, more truthful, and real. Rather than saying over and over, "I'm dumb, I'm dumb, I'm dumb," I found ways to find a more honest narrative. And those things helped propel me into, I think, being an adult, quite frankly. And that was in my 30s. So that's a little bit about my journey.
Yeah, I can, so relate to this feeling that you're missing something. I believe, when I feel that way, it's like the world tells you that success is this, and you're not getting it. And that is why, I'm, even feeling this like myself. You might be missing something, right? There is something wrong with you. And, I actually want to ask you, so how were you able to transform that self-talk? Because I believe a lot of people might be experiencing the same, like the world tells you, well, this is success, you're not reaching it. So therefore, there must be something wrong with you. How do you transform that and say, no, there is nothing wrong with me? And actually, it just, this is how I see the world and this is what I want to do. And this is not my version of success.
Well, it's easier said than done, but I'll tell you what I did and what I have to do a lot, because it's not like it goes away forever. I mean, we're humans, right? We're conditioned a certain way. Yeah. But what I did was I wrote down the negative sentences that were going on in here. I wrote them down on a piece of paper one day. I'm dumb, so forth and so on, all those kind of like limiting beliefs, imposter syndrome things. And in the next column, I wrote, if they're true. Are they true? And if so, how do I know they're true? Am I dumb? How do I know I'm dumb? I couldn't fill in the blank. How do I know? I don't know. Nothing tells me in society I am, nothing tells me I'm unintelligent. And so once I had this list of my imposter syndrome and my limiting beliefs, and the next column was, how do I know if it's true? And it was empty. Then I began to look for evidence of what was true. So I'm really good with people. I really know how to hold space with people. I lead with empathy. I believe in kindness and tenderness. These are all true things. And that's literally the things that I then put into my head. I am able to think critically and strategically. Now, if I was dumb, I wouldn't be able to, right? I'm a great friend, and I would list out, how do I know these things? I've become a good friend to myself. So where I used to say I'm self-sabotaging myself, then I saw, I'm becoming. So I really did it in a very linear way, which is funny because I'm not a linear thinker a lot of the time. But I really don't think I had much of a choice. I was stuck. I was
Mm-hmm.
stuck. I was repeating the same patterns, every relationship, the same narrative, the same story. I was so bored of myself that I needed, yeah.
And so this was like what helped you psychologically, right? As I understand, like doing
it helped me. Well, therapy helped me psychologically, but this helped me in a very tactical, practical way.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, when I was going to therapy, she would say, "You are enough. You matter." Like those wonderful phrases, but it wasn't sinking in. I needed it to be more personalized.
Yeah, personalized. And I guess after doing this work, you also changed something in your career. Like I remember hearing on one of the interviewers that you moved to London, I don't know, to maybe make this start more tangible and more real. Like, could you also tell a little bit about that? Because again, a lot of people might be afraid to make this jump. Okay, now I understand I'm worthy, and I know what I'm good at, and I want to make this switch. Like, but how do I make it? Will it work? Like, what maybe help you to make this jump?
Well, I got offered a job, so that's the first thing. But I was very happy and content in my life. I was living in San Francisco. I had a bunch, my friends there, my stuff, my life there. But I knew that I just knew it in my heart. Opportunity knocks once or twice. And that was a big knock on my door. And the CEO of the company said, "I hear we need someone with your skill sets." And that was enough for me. Now, the old Claude would have said, "What skill sets do you mean?" But the Claude that was centered said, "When do you need me there?"
Yeah.
Very big difference.
Yeah. And that was, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
And then 2 weeks later, I was there, and my life took off in a completely different way. Completely different. I was almost starting again. I was 40. And really finding a way to befriend myself and to watch my emotions travel down a stream rather than being so attached to them.
Yeah. I think, that work that you did prior to that offer and making yourself ready for that. And then, having this opportunity that two things coming together were what allowed you to make this, switch and jump and finally, I guess, reconnect with what you were designed for, so to speak.
Yeah, right? so to speak. And I love, I'm a person that loves traveling. I love different cultures. I love getting lost. I love adventures. And so going to London, not knowing anyone and finding myself and finding a community was an incredible challenge and the best challenge. I needed it. I didn't know I needed it. I just knew that there was a knock on the door and I said, okay, let's go.
Yes. It takes a lot of courage, definitely. But if it feels right, I just want to, reiterate, then you have to make the jump, right?
Yeah. I mean, no one's going to do it for you. If anything, you're going to get pulled someplace and you'll wake up in 10 years and say, I didn't want to be here. How did I get here? Or you'll say, okay, I love it here, but I didn't intentionally make the move here.
Yes. And I can still relate, on a personal note. I moved to Sao Paulo just before the end of the year, not necessarily with a specific goal. I just felt like I needed to change. And I'm like, if not now, then I don't know when I'm going to be ready. Right. So.
Right. Good for you. It's an incredible city. Wow.
Incredible city. Yes. And, I already met people. It was like a rough transition because I didn't speak the language, but, it just felt right. Like I needed to move now without a plan, just feeling that it was right. So again, thank you for sharing this part of the story, just because I believe from what I'm, hearing in the media and in reading about our culture, it's just a lot of people are in this transition because, what's happening in the world. And maybe not everyone necessarily feels like that they're ready or they found everything that they, were looking for, or they have the opportunity, but maybe they do feel like they want to make a change. And so,
yeah, if you hear a call or you want to make a change, guess what? Are we ever ready?
yes.
And what does that even mean? Either you've prepared yourself in some way for the task at hand, or you're an athlete or a ballerina, but like, are we ever ready? No, we are always second guessing ourselves. So just I say, put your courage cape on and take a risk, because almost every decision you make can be undone. Almost every.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And yeah, I guess, can be a lot of said about like protecting your like back a little bit, right? So you do have the option to go back, etc. But yeah, do the jump when it feels right. And, from here, I'd like to transition to something that a lot of people were, excited about when they found out that I would interview you. It's, creating people-centric, heart-centric culture in companies. First, I actually want to start with something that you have on your website and probably everywhere, the concept of emotional optimism. Mm-hmm. And if you don't mind, I'm going to read the passage on your website. Emotional optimism is simply an awareness that we have the capacity to influence how we think and how we feel. It's a way to frame in cooperation with our whole selves and combine our thoughts and our feelings into new understandings. So I'd like to stop, on this concept. Why emotional optimism? How did you come up with that?
Well, I know I'm an optimist, but I'm also a psychologist in many ways. I'm very deep. I get very deep into, our emotions. Like I often feel like I know how to swim to the top of the surface of the ocean, but I spend a lot of time down here in the what makes us tick. And that's kind of the emotional, that's like the sand on the bottom of the ocean. The optimism is being able to swim to the top. So here's something I've rarely ever shared in my entire life. In 2012, I moved to London for the second time. And my friend took me to go see a shaman. And all I gave the shaman was my birthday, so he was going to do the chart. And I go into his room, his office, and he looks like Gandalf. He's a huge white beard. He speaks like Freud and Jung. And he looks at the chart, and he looks at me. Looks at the chart. He looks at me. He looks at the chart, and he says the following: "You are the only person I've ever met that can be inside of a coffin and still see the light." And that is where emotional optimism comes from.
That's that's something amazing to hear. Thank you for sharing this story.
I was like, whoa, I have never heard someone express exactly what things are like for me sometimes. And it doesn't mean coffin dead. Yes. It means I can exist in the dark. I've been in the dark. I've been in dark places, but I always know that there's change is possible. I always know there's someplace else for me to go.
Mm-hmm. And it seems like it has become a filter, some sort of, for your work, for your mission in this world, and maybe something that you are transferring to other people when working with them or interacting with them.
I hope so. I mean, I really hope so. I aim to work with people to ask them enough questions so I can identify where their block is.
Mm-hmm.
where their limiting belief is. And then I
Mm-hmm.
take them through the same thing I already told you I do. Like, there's something that's not connecting here.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Is it what you're telling yourself? Is it what your parents told you? What are you carrying? Why do you have to be such a perfectionist? Why
Mm-hmm.
is that insecurity coming up and you feel like you need to micromanage someone?
Mm-hmm.
Let's examine. And so I'm always examining with that. Tomorrow is another day. Let's get through this today. Let's get through this together. And I'm asking them a lot of questions and listening for what they're not saying, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
and really trying to do my best to help people go from here
Mm-hmm.
to here
Yeah.
in the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
I think because I've been around people for so long and I've been in the working world for so long, I can pretty much spot, oh, you're being really hard on yourself. Oh, you don't allow yourself to smell the roses. So that means you don't allow your team to smell the roses. Oh, you're going so fast that you don't celebrate. Oh, why don't you celebrate? Huh? Were you celebrated? Like, did people recognize you? Do you
Mm-hmm.
not get recognition? All these things.
Yes. That reminds me of the question that somebody also asked me to ask you. And I feel like it's related. The question is, well, okay, I'm a leader of a team, of organization. How can I make myself and perhaps even, my leadership team a little bit more like that heart, chief heart officer. And that also means, like, how do you make people comfortable enough to also, share that and vulnerability with me to be able to help them? Like, how can every leader, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, how can people become more like chief heart officer, and how can that be scaled?
Yeah. Well, there are tons and tons and tons of chief heart officers out there, because I consider it someone that has a heart to be of service, right? Which many of us do. How you make someone feel, how you leave them feeling, that's all that matters. When I'm with someone, am I also making them feel like they matter, like they're value, even if I'm having a hard conversation? So for me, it's always going to be, this is a conversation about them, not Claude. I'm here to help them thrive, spread their wings, if they'll let me. And so thus, I'm a passenger. I'm a passenger with them on their journey, meaning I don't have to have all the answers. I don't judge at all. And what they say to me stays in a very safe space, because I'm trusted. I'm honored to be in that position. But at the end of the day, it's, how did I make you feel? And that's what matters to me. Did I light you up? Was I someone in the room that brought energy? Or did I come into the room looking at my phone? So there's anyway, sorry to cut you off. When we remember as leaders that we work for them, it changes everything.
Yeah. I think, being intentional about just what's your purpose.
Yeah, what's your purpose?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to be on the front page of every magazine? Okay, well, then that's your purpose. Let's figure out how to do that. Do you want to lead a team of 200? Let's figure out how to do that. Anything is possible. And I believe in the workplace, if you have a healthy culture and one where people know you care about them and you put them first, there's solutions to almost every problem in the workplace. I'm not saying there's solutions to health. There's solutions to the manager. You don't like the manager. You don't like the feedback. You didn't get the raise you wanted. You want to move teams. You're not being recognized. We can work on all of that.
Yes, if there is a culture where people feel comfortable to share, to open up about those things that don't work. And, speaking of which, do you have any strategies, tips, I don't know, conversation starters, or something that will help leaders to install, so to speak, this culture of trust and psychological safety?
Yeah, pick up your phone and text 5 people, thank you. I'd love to get together. I haven't seen you in a while. Hope everything is great. Heard you knocked it out of the park on that presentation. Reach out. Be vulnerable. I'd love to spend time with you. But first you have to make the move. You cannot expect for a soccer ball to come to you all the time. You have to go to the ball. You have to go to these people. I'm here. I'm available. I would love to get time with you. And, people say to me all the time, oh, you're so busy. No, I'm not. I'm just as busy as you. I'm no busier. I'm just, but making them feel like they're a priority. Today someone gave someone a shout out on an email, and I forwarded the email to that person. I don't know if that person knew that they got a shout out. Why shouldn't I pass that good news around? So I say it again, I'm a passenger, right? I am a passenger on people's journeys. I want their journey to be as smooth as possible, knowing that there's always going to be bumps in the road. There are some things I can see ahead of time that they may not be able to see because I've lived it. I've been through it.
So what I'm hearing is, again, get out of your head. And if you're there for other people, then ask, those people, right? And communicate with people openly, and people more often than not will tell you like what's on their mind.
Yeah. Like, how about this? Why don't you treat someone like you wish to be treated? Well, with kindness, with possibility, with yes. That's how most of us want to be treated. I don't know anyone that wants to be told no all day. Right?
Yes. Treat other people as you'd like to be treated. And I also think, what I'm hearing from you is treat other people as people first.
Yeah.
Right? How would you talk to just a person, not necessarily your core?
Yeah. We're not machines over here. Like, we all have emotions, and our emotions are very, very similar to one another. Our life experience is very different. Our emotions are very similar. So meaning you and I are not that far apart.
Yeah, exactly. We are unique, but when it comes to humanity, right, we're not apart. To this point about culture, what I hear a lot of leaders also say, they kind of make it sound like it's opposite, caring about culture and about people and performance. How do you go about solving this? I don't know, sometimes again it seems like it's opposition. We care about performance, but we also care about people. Like, where do we set priorities, and do we need to set priorities?
I don't think there's a real balance. I think you have to put people first, even if that's 1%, 2 percentage points first. You can tell. Putting people first, I believe, taking care of them, helping them sort out their own performance, their own growth, all of that stuff, I believe drives success. The company then knows you're here for them, and you are going to do everything you can to get them from here to here. And that's, people feel that. And by the way, I've been at many organizations where that didn't happen, and I felt that too. No one, I was like, hello, is anybody out there? Anybody out there? No safety net. I mean, I would work 13, 15 hours a day. No one knew. And that was lonely. It was so lonely. And at the end of the day, I ended up leaving. It wasn't the right place for me. But when you are really invested and you know how many hours your team's working or your teammate is working, you know that they've worked 3 weekends in a row. You're aware that they just got engaged. They're in the hospital. They had a fight with their spouse. People bring their life into work. So we need to take care of the person. And then I believe we can unlock performance. Not in everyone, but you can figure out, okay, does this person need some training? Do they need some one-on-one training? Do they need to listen to podcasts? Do they need to, spend more time with one of our other leaders? Do they need to go to one of our other offices? Do we need to sit with them and really figure out if they have a learning block? All of that for them and then the client. But for them, putting people first, the ROI, everyone asks me, what's the ROI of heart and putting people first? Well, what's not the ROI? It's sky's the limit. Happiness, friendship, warmth, camaraderie, inspiration, innovation, creativity. But I don't believe you get that in a culture of fear for that long. I think it lasts and then it's done. People are like, no, I don't feel good. Someone coming to work on a Monday morning freaking out is not what I want. Someone on Sunday night freaking out is not a good culture. It's not a good feeling. And I've had that, the Sunday scaries. A lot of people have them.
And it reminded me of this, notion that people do so much more for friends, for family, for someone they feel related to, connected to. And when we feel that somebody cares, we care too a lot more than we would, if we felt that nobody just cared. And I think you just confirming that, culture, this trust, this caring about people first, that drives performance, because that's just how we humans are, right? We do so much more for our kids.
Yeah. Well, I said to one of our leaders a long time ago, he would come into work and he would have armor up. He would just block himself from emotion. And thus he would block himself from connecting to other people. And I said to him one day, when you go home and your kids run up to you and daddy, 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 what does that feel like? Oh, it feels so great. It feels like I'm the most important, luckiest person in the world. I said, well, when you come to work tomorrow, try to bring that feeling in, like a softness, not a weakness, a softness. People want to get to know you. And you keep them at a distance, and that's not going to set us up for success. And it didn't, by the way.
Thank you.
We're wired to connect with one another, and people want to work for leaders that have a sense of vulnerability, that are real and can be authentic, and also that have a direction. Okay, we're all going this direction, and this is why. Okay, cool. I want to be there.
Yeah. But you're so right. Yeah. If you want people to connect with you, and also becoming a great leader for them, like, you got to open up first. You got to show up as a person.
Yeah, you have. This is what it's like to be a great leader. You just said it. And to be a CHO, how we show up is everything. Ask yourself, how do you show up every day? And then ask someone else, how do I show up every day? You can ask them anonymously. How do I show up? And see if it matches each other.
Yeah. It's a great advice. Just get feedback from people. How to do about that.
We all want to grow. We all want to develop.
I also wanted to ask you, how do you scale that skill set, right? Do you scale it by just, interacting with other people, leaders maybe of teams, of departments, in that way, and that transfers, or you do any specific trainings, or, maybe you get together to talk about those things? Yeah.
So first and foremost, I spend time with a lot of people, loads and loads of people. I have an incredible team that has modeled what they do after what I do. Spending time holding space, not having judgment, helping direct them, point them in the right direction, connecting them with people. We have a phenomenal leadership team that does that too, that is able to really hold them and move them, help them. And then I have, people that I call culture champions that have day jobs. They have their regular jobs, but I lean on them in all offices, in all different departments. If someone it needs to, get to know 10 people, well, I have 10 people to introduce you to. And those 10 people are going to introduce you to more 10 people. So that's how you scale, right? And visiting other offices, doing Zooms, one-on-one, one-to-many, and, sharing that it's not a philosophy how we show up and making someone, how do you make someone feel? It's not a philosophy, it's a question. How do you make someone feel? How do you want to make someone feel? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, intentionality, right? How do you want how do you want people to feel? And then I think the answer will come to you, how you need to show up for people to feel that.
Yeah, this is the thing, which is like baffles me, is I want to feel just as good as the other person. I want to feel free. I want to feel invigorated. I want to feel inspired. And I would imagine 99.9 people want to do that too.
Yes, so true. We are so much more alike than we think. We're like different.
Yes, we do.
And also on that note of Zooms, etc., I'm curious. At Vayner Media, you have offices in different parts of the world, right? So, what's percentage of your people are somewhere else, not in your head office?
I don't know the percentages, but I know in the New York office, obviously, is our bulk of our people. It's probably 600. Los Angeles is probably 200. London is 150. The Netherlands is new. Singapore, probably 100 people. Australia, a handful of people. So New York is the most, and then London and LA really mirror each other, which makes a lot of sense as, hubs of business.
Yeah. So the reason why I'm asking that actually, because there are a lot of questions and there's a whole trend, about distributed work, remote work, and people wanted to know, what's your take on being remote and having distributed teams, also allowing people to come into the office or not come into the office. And then also, how do you scale culture with, other offices, departments, and when you have to scale it remotely or, when you distribute. So tell us more about that.
So I think hybrid is the way to go. I think hybrid for our company is fantastic. That's not to say that we don't have remote workers. Absolutely, we do. You have to lean in a little bit more with them, and they need to lean in more with you. I think that's literally the deal, which is cool. You want to live in Argentina? That's fantastic. But I really need you to show up, be present on the screen, lean in, part of the team. We're going to embrace you. We'll do everything that we can and more to really bring you across with us. So I think that's the first thing. Zoom, it's wonderful and effective, and it allows for an enormous amount of intimacy and relationship building if you are open to it. If you're not open to it, then it's a real detractor. Then I would suggest you're in an office. You're an office person. If you're a person that's like this on Zoom, well, no one really, that's not going to be helpful. So are you like this on Zoom with your arms? And in terms of building culture and scaling culture, it's everything we talked about, but on steroids. Really acknowledging what a person's saying and not saying, because I can look right at you. I have no idea what's going on from the shoulders down, but I'm going to imagine sometimes people are nervous and sometimes they're tapping their foot and sometimes they're in their pajamas, and it's all good. We just want people to show up in a way that steers us towards creativity, steers us towards camaraderie, steers us towards connection and safety. So if that can happen on Zoom, then fantastic. And for the most part, it is happening. The one thing I'll say that I need to enunciate all the time is the camera's on.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, you're having a terrible day and, or you get a phone call and you just say, like, be right back. But other than that, I would like the cameras to be on.
Yes. Would you say you have a lot of people like doing remote work only, or you said, you're more on a hybrid model. So do you have like a lot of people working remotely or not a significant percentage?
Yeah, I mean, it is. People are still working remotely from COVID and have moved away. And then in Europe, we have people all over that don't go into an office, and Mexico City also, and Singapore, Southeast Asia. So yeah, I would say 20% maybe. Yeah, 20%.
Yeah, it's also a big percentage, I think. And so do you have any specific advice maybe or practices besides trying to be that present and be a good leader, and also try to intentionally help the person to feel comfortable to express their concerns or something that they're struggling with? Like, do you have maybe specific tips? Okay, if your team is remote or distributed, like these are the kind of interactions you'd like to have, or you need to have more of something specific to remote setting, or you would say just try to scale what you would do in person and talk to people as much as possible?
Well, yes, I would say continue to try to talk to people as much as possible on a 15-minute basis, pretty much, or 30-minute, if you have that kind of time. But I would also do stand-up meetings where everyone is, showing up on Monday at the same time or showing up on Tuesday at the same time. Just rituals. People need routine rituals. They need to make things actionable. You know what I mean? So so maybe on every Friday at noon, East Coast, we can still get London, and we can still get LA and Mexico and Canada. Let's do something. Let's do something for this one team. We all get together and we share, the best things that have happened this week, or we share the thorn. Or you have to be a little bit creative.
What, somebody asked me a question, but how do you connect kind of with a whole person when in remote setting? So I understand, how to do the stand-up meetings or work on work-related issues. But for example, how do you simulate, maybe you have some ideas, those random coffee breaks and, coffee conversations? Do you do anything around that specifically?
Yeah, we do the same. Yeah, it's the same thing. I mean, you set up a virtual coffee date with someone. I do a lot of icebreakers. When I'm talking to one-to-many people, I'm always trying to connect who's on the screen. So like, what was the first concert you went to, or, all kinds of stuff. There's great icebreakers. But the point of that is for people to connect to one another in different offices or in different locations. I mean, I'm happy and I love knowing like what the first concert was people went to, but I'd rather them share, a lot of people are very similar age groups here. So it's, I went to Britney Spears. I went to Britney Spears. I went to Backstreet Boys. I went, stuff like that. So making things inviting, intentionally, consistently creating opportunities for people to connect. The name of the game. And be inventive about it, be innovative about it. It doesn't always have to be about the project you're on. Yeah,
that's what I meant. Yeah. And I think what people think, how do you implement, this fun aspect of work, this human aspect when you remote, when you distribute, when you don't see each other face to face. And what I'm hearing is, just create intentionally those moments for that fun to happen.
Right. Because guess what? They're not going to happen unless you create them, unless you proactively do something. Like
Mm-hmm.
I say, the ball doesn't just come to us. You have to go for it. You have to go after it. And
Mm-hmm.
in doing that, you will make people feel connection. You will make people feel psychologically safe. These are things we want.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you foster growth.
Um, Thank you, so much, Claude, for sharing all of this wisdom and tips and advice and your personal experience. I really appreciate it. Is there anything else you, at the end of our conversation, that you'd like to add? Maybe a question that you wish I asked you, but I didn't, about culture or people leading people. Is there anything like that?
Yeah, I think the one question I would ask everyone is, how do you show up every day?
Mm-hmm.
Really, really, really get real. Are you present? Are you there for others, or are you there for yourself? Are you judging people with your subjective opinions? And if so, do they know that? Like, get real. Like, this is the time to get real. The entire work paradigm is changing right now. We're a part of that change. So, like, have that conversation with yourself. And then if you feel like you can open up to someone else, have that conversation. How do I show up? I want to be the best leader I possibly can. I want this culture to be a happy culture, a healthy culture. How can I do that?
Yeah, such a great question. And I believe also that it applies to other areas of our life. Like, just ask people, I want to be, I don't know, a great spouse, a great friend.
Yeah.
How do I show
seriously. Right? Right? And you said it earlier. We have so much light inside of us, and your candle can light 1,000 candles. And so can mine.
Yeah.
And so can theirs.
So powerful. Yeah, we just need to remember that we all have that.
Yeah.
Claude, thank you so much for this conversation. I so appreciate your time, your energy, and your journey, and sharing it with us. The last question: where can people connect with you? Where can people learn from?
You find me on LinkedIn. For sure. You can find me on my website or my email, Claude@claudesilver.com. I would say LinkedIn is where I'm most vocal, but I'd love to hear from anyone. And I'm always here when people reach out. I always get back to them. So it might take me a little bit of time, but I would love to hear from anyone.
Yes, so I'm going to share that in the show notes, and I highly encourage people to connect with you, to learn from you. Also, you have so much to share and to teach. Thank you, Claude.
So much. Thank you.